What would you say of a man, Yudhishthir, who was the oldest of the Pandavas, or the five brothers who just gambled her wife away? Historically, it has been well described that he was a very virtuous prince, far from any degenerate lifestyle. In short words, he was the ideal man. And here, he is gambling like an addict, who just gambled his kingdom, his possessions, and all his four brothers in a very well curated master plan by gambling. Even if a gambler looks just like any other person, his brain is a lot more different than we can envision. For the addiction has cured his goodness and rooted a game of abstract chance. Lost land? Fine, I'll get it back. Lost kingdom? Fine, I'll get it back. Lost brothers? Fine, my wife will get everything back. And left with nothing. But the main problem is, how does this even start?
Gambling historically has been a condemned sin that has destroyed innocence, lives, and entire kingdoms. It's so weird because it's like the devil's advocate peering out even the utmost basic behavioral psychology of humans, and that's why it's much more complicated to understand and defeat than any other addictions. And that's for a reason, because once it takes a hold of you, you're captured, trapped for the first time in an uncertain certainty of life where you're certain but your actions are not, only to be taken by a damn jack or a roulette tie.
And ironically, it has taken quite a number of forms now, from casino games to mobile bidding, all for a basic high. But it mostly starts with gambling as the root cause.
For example, Fyodor Dostoevsky, the famous Russian novelist, was a compulsive gambler too. Even though he could articulate some of the very basic philosophical ideas, he failed to realize he himself was a slave to the sin. And that explains this being the slavery to chance, and that is what gambling lures on. Gambling is instinctively defined as any game based on chance and stake, which lures our human brain to contemplate that fruit is just next door, while absolutely forgetting of the fact of the hell just behind. And that is kind of the beauty of its ugliness. It's very instinctive that any human being will be lured to it. Will be.
It all actually is a cage to the darkness, a spark of life and a yet unlived traumatic juvenile. Perhaps some lonely memories. How did you got here? Perhaps you either walked into this casino or a festival stall, or perhaps found a mobile app. They maybe got your attention by showing someone who won, cool ads by actors or sportsmen or good-looking girls, and lots of fun. Thus perfectly executing the first trap of hooking you. And now you see these curved entrances, bright lights, and people cheering, all which portals up your anticipation for the game. It's your chance. You have to place a bet, but it all starts inside your brain. Most probably, you feel a surge of dopamine already racing due to the foreseen predicted victory right in front of you. Last was 9, quite close. Just one try and your family's life can be changed. And perhaps it's not even about your family, but about a very elemental instinct inside of you to take a chance. A masculine surge of jump, almost there. All of your neurotransmitters are racing with anticipation, causing excitement. And as you predicted, if this was a habit, you would have been already wet by dopamine before even starting the gamble.
Scientifically, the release of chemicals is so strong and addictive due to the intensity of emotions after gambling that it becomes quite real for a lot of people. And this feels like the edge of a mountain. For example, you may have seen in movies that this tough people like to play chance with guns, having a couple of bullets inside, and so the awe of them dying is high. The trigger makes the feeling very real, with the chemicals racing all over your body. And that is addictive to a lot of people, especially men who are instinctively evolved to feel such a high.
Sir, where do you want to place a bet?
And the wheel spins. This can be considered the peak of the feeling. You will absolutely real at this time. Dopamine is almost leaking out of your containers, and another chemical called norepinephrine, which is a stress chemical for do or die, making stuff very real. The golden fruit is just sitting, and it's very close as it appears. And dopamine and norepinephrine is accompanied by endorphins or adrenaline, all absolutely enhancing this feeling. Apart from this chemical rant, studies using fMRI has shown that during gambling, a very important part of our brain, which is prefrontal cortex, PFC, which is responsible for decision making, gets a little inactive. And I mean, this can be explained because you don't want to calculate too much when you have already taken off for a jump. Jumping over this cliff, right? But here, gambling often links to some gain or loss, and hence BFC being inactive nullifies this experience clarity, and it just feels like a dream. Another study, specifically Kahneman and Tversky in 1979 about orbitofrontal cortex OFC, which is say prefrontal's brother, just shocked me completely. So say I take you, yes you, and I tie you around this chair, and I force $100 out of your pocket, if there was. I mean, just say you had it, and I buy something of it, maybe a farming tractor, which may or may not be able to give back the $100 worth of supply. You would feel awfully bad, and will there be even a bit of dopamine or other chemicals there? Perhaps just cortisol, bro. Now what if I give you the control and you can sell the tractor whenever you want? You don't have to wait to grow something, and by just saying yes or no, you may find gold inside this tractor. What about now? OFC controls our reward and punishment system, and majorly humans have this loss aversion, and we feel loss of $100 more than the possible gain of $100. But during gambling, you face this illusion of control by you choosing something like rolling the dice in a certain way, which fools the OFC. You gain or lose, it doesn't matter. I won. Oh, that's not you. He won, you lost. This seems to be a loss, and majorly people are let down after a loss, but the perpetrators of gambling are so strong that the cognitive tricks like the same loss aversion starts working fine now, and you feel awfully bad for the loss. And here you may be tricked by fruit still next door, and perhaps you can get it all back this time, which is a very vicious cycle. Or perhaps in another multiverse you won. You take the fruit and you put it inside your pocket, but while you were just doing it, you saw a fruit basket and a goddamn garden of trees nearby. Just ask yourself, will you take another bet now? You just won, and you can always win until you can't any longer. Gambling at its core may be a reflection for human brain's shortcoming, but that is not everything there is to know about. And we may say that gambling is a natural repercussion to balance good and evil, but shouldn't there be anything that would help us better understand this? Actually, there is. EV is equal to summation PI VI. There is an example to understand this. In roulette, if you bet on a single number, the payout is 35-1. But since in American roulette, there are 38 numbers, the probability of winning is just 1/38. And as per the equation, the expected value of single bet is negative, which simply means that in the long term you are destined to lose. And not just roulette, but a lot of other casino and online games are just designed like this. And as per some analysis, the chance of an average person becoming his country's leader is much more than winning those big online game draws. And I mean, it's ironical because the entire subject of probability was just made to help or understand a friend's dice game. One of the similar deduction is house edge, which is the average profit a casino makes from each bet, which is house edge is equal to total bet amount minus total payout upon total bet amount into 100. And the damn shocking part is that for American roulette example, it is 5.26% due to the extra 00 slot. I mean, casinos will always make money. And if they make money, that simply means others have to lose it. And this 5 to 10% increase shouldn't scare you just now. As apart from these mathematical proofs, gambling casinos and apps use multiple psychological strategies like gambler's fallacy, card counting, and whatnot. Just like in Monte Carlo 1913, at the roulette table the ball landed on black 26 times in a row. This streak led players to bet heavily on red, believing that red was due to come up because black had appeared so many times consecutively. This is called gambler's fallacy, which is one of the strongest weapons gambling has against us. Because we all know it's always a 50-50 chance, which is independent of past results, but we like to judge it with possibilities. We can take collective measurements because, yes, the probability of red ever coming in the long run was massive due to the probability of 26 blacks coming super low. But gambling works on present, and in the present, gamblers were doomed, who all lost a lot of their money. And you too. Chapter 4: Breaking Out. As you realized how absolutely bulletproof the overall gambling behavior is, you do realize how casinos, mobile apps, and other gambling places have formulated their fortresses around our psychological flows. Be it the curved hallways making you feel there's always things to explore, bright lights, and the sound making it something special. Or be it the positive reinforcement after every small win with sound, animations, and people cheering you that you forget you were losing. You just always lost. In no way under the heaven, gambling can be considered as a part of life because it alters your brain in many ways you cannot imagine and you would not want to imagine. A gambler has far more overactive dopamine release, especially during and after gambling sessions, and these sessions may be as simple as guessing questions in your exam, which is how deep the context goes. Apart from this, your mesolimbic system, which is about reward, and as I said, prefrontal and OFC, loss aversion, are damaged and are reprogrammed forever. The next time you lose something, you care less. And down the list goes on. Instant activity, which is the hyperactivity of emotional risk, is increased. And you, who is the gambler, will end up with tolerance. And bro, tolerance is where addiction triggers their own cycles. And man, for gambling, which is an absolute pinnacle of addictive behaviors, if this ends up having its own cycle, you are doomed. Tolerance results in you craving these emotional highs and risks more dopamine to make your life brighten up, which all leads to a hedonistic lifestyle, starting your downfall. But how do you even break out of it? You have a problem. Yes, you have. And that's why the first step is to acknowledge you're in trouble. But don't worry, it can still be fixed, but if you don't fix it now, you're done. Remember this. Then any gambler or you needs to be very aware of the situation, triggers, and your psychology. Gambling is quite instinctive and hence hard to run away from. What you should do is understand how risk-looking you or the gambler are and what your emotional system is. Be aware of your challenges, in short. And then replace this habit with another decent dopamine habit which might not be bad. For example, starting to really focus towards some sports and looking at your edge over there, or possibly starting up a business. Though you could jump from bad habit to a less bad habit like scroll social media all day, but that won't work due to your emotional requirements. And I mean, adding any habit won't be a piece of cake either. You will crave those risks and highs and just feeling real. And that would remind you that perhaps somewhere in life you're alone. Alone in the football field or on a stage with no one rooting for you. And that's when you need to arrange your life towards the dawn for the better. No matter your craving, a better and beautiful life will be and is ahead of you, apart from these wrongdoings. Maybe you started this and have lost quite a land now. There was always a better option before. But the sooner you realize quitting is the best form of victory for any gambler, the more you win. And that's where you belong.